This week on The Grit Crusade.
I always tell people 26-year-old me and almost 35-year-old me are not the same. We are not the same. And thank goodness for aging and maturity.
Hey, Grit Crusaders. My name is Brooke, and I am the host today here on the Grit Crusade podcast. And I'm so excited that you're here joining us. If it's your first time, welcome. You are in for a treat with my girl Stormy. And if you're returning, welcome back. We are so excited today to introduce you to Stormy Bradley. Woo! Yay, Stormy.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. Stormy is a wife, a mother, a God-fearing, amazing, badass creature who runs some amazing businesses down in Texas. Yay! And we met in Franklin, Tennessee when we were in Full Focus Business Accelerator. There we go. I was like, what was the name of it? I forgot. Yeah, it was a group coaching program. So tell us a little bit about you, Stormy.
Well, you said it. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm highly invested in my community, and I think I'm up to 7 businesses now.
Stop it. Okay, so tell us what they are. I feel like I don't even know all these. I didn't need to take a little notes here.
So some I'm a part of, and some were just passive. So we have our first company, Metal Solutions. That's steel construction. Then we started Bulldog Steel. It is a steel manufacturing facility for so I make components and sell them to my husband's construction company, Metal Solutions, and other construction companies. Then we are partners in a developing business called H&B. I think it's H&B Ventures, but I'm not exactly sure on the rest
is that
like I said,
I don't do operations, so I don't have to worry about it. So are you like commercial, residential development, both?
Commercial, residential, industrial.
Okay, yes. Cool. All right. So there's 3. Or the rest
so then we have a series LLC, and within that there's 5 businesses. But really it's just property management. So we keep about $1 million of assets in each series. And we kind of have them structured to their income ratio. Even my home is in there, my ranch, our businesses are in that property. And then we lease from B4. And then I also have, it's all in one, but it's separate. It's one building, but we have a barber shop, an ice cream shop, and a car wash, like a detail station. We call that the station because we bought an old gas station.
Oh, you did? You bought an old gas station?
Yeah, we bought an old gas station for like $3,000. The EPA was after the guy, needed to get the tanks removed and all that. Well, we can do that. So we got all the tanks removed, put asphalt down, added an extra bay for the car wash, and then just fix it up. And it's really it's probably my funnest thing. Our kids are going to own that business in the future. They're actually, we homeschool our boys. They're 10 and 8. And they actually work there 1 or 2 days a week. They usually work Wednesdays. Sometimes they work Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I
love that.
Oh, they love it. They ask, they're like, can we work today? Because we drag race as well. And my youngest son is trying to save up for a GoPro. Like he wants the GoPro and the vest so he can
on his,
so he can watch himself. Yeah.
So he's going to he's going to point the GoPro to his face, or he's going to point it this way?
So he can he wants it to face out so he can see.
I was wondering, is he wanting, the selfie generation, right? Is he wanting this view or
tweak and modify how he races and his reaction time and
I love that. That's good. That's good. Okay. And so Bulldog Steel came first. Am I right about that?
Metal Solutions came first.
Metal Solutions came first, and then Bulldog Steel came second. And you started, so Bulldog Steel is the one that makes the stuff for Metal Solutions.
Correct.
But how did you decide to open that? Because I remember you telling me this story.
So I am glad that you asked that. So really and truly, God pushes you to do things that you sometimes are resistant for, right? Yeah. And when we started Metal Solutions, we're located about 90 miles in in the middle of a 90-mile radius or more of other steel manufacturing companies. And when we started Metal Solutions, it was just to pay for me to go to nursing school. We needed the revenue. Nursing school is a very long process. And when you start clinicals, it's, 6 a.m. till 8, 9 at night, because you got to do a care plan after you get done with class and clinicals. And so it's kind of one of those things where we just started it just to generate a little bit of income. We built carports and, garages, like small things starting out. And it was just Tyler and I. And so when it came time to think about Bulldog, I was like, absolutely not. We almost killed each other, which we got married. I did graduate nursing school. We both worked full-time jobs when we started Metal Solutions. So we both worked full-time jobs. We got married. We had 2 kids. We moved our office from our home. We built a building and officed there. All of this in this, time frame, right? And I'm like, Metal Solutions was smooth sailing. I mean, we were at like, I don't know, 58% profitability. I mean, that's net. I
What?
mean, like
Oh,
we were
wow.
doing really great. I had went through the hard years of you have to pay a $327,000 tax bill. I've went the insurance audits and, all the things of business, right? Like it was easy. And when he's like, we need to start Bulldog, I was like, you're crazy. We almost killed each other. We almost went bankrupt. We almost lost our home.
Yeah.
Like all of these things happened. Why would you want to do it again? And so I just ignored him for probably 8 months. Then we went to this thing called MetalCon, which is exactly what it says, metal conference. And we met with some people that build machines so you can make your own sheet metal. My husband, being the forward little fox he is, he was like, hey, how about we just buy a machine and make our own metal for our own projects? And I'm like, you're onto something. Well, then it took, those machines take 30 plus 50 weeks, depending on what they are. 34 weeks is what it took to build ours. So it took 34 weeks to get ours built. And in the meantime, I worked on getting our wholesale license and all of these things, right? And people would show up at Metal Solutions and say, hey, y'all have that in there? I'm headed to Sweetwater to buy material, which is 90 something miles away.
Yeah.
Like, can we just buy that? And I'm just like, sure. So I have to pull the invoice out, manually calculate up how much it costs per foot and all the things. And it was a really big nightmare for me to figure that out. So then I was like, I need to get an inventory system. And then when you do that, so Metal Solutions doesn't have a resale certificate because we're not reselling products, right? I mean, I don't know if you have any of your listeners that do that.
Yep.
So inventory is a completely different animal than a service business.
Yep.
You have to have a lot more people. Metal Solutions ran with me, Tyler, and a part-time person. Literally.
Wow.
And now Metal Solutions has, I think, 5 or 6 employees. We have a few salesmen. We share an accountant between all the businesses. She kind of is over all of them. But anyway, I started looking into it. I didn't want Metal Solutions to get a resale certificate. I ended up doing that, we filed 0 returns and then ended up canceling it because it was just too much of a nightmare to blend the two. And so I'm in Texas, by the way. It may not be that way in other states, but that's kind of how it is in Texas. And so then Bulldog came about, and it's actually our business name is STB Industrial Services, which is Stormy Tyler Bradley. And then so he's majority owner in Metal Solutions. I'm majority owner in Bulldog, and we prospectively stay in our lanes now. It took a long time to get there. I think you work with your spouse, so you know what it's like. Oh, yeah,
we do. We totally do. Yeah, we totally do. And like I have, one of our businesses has been open for 10 years. One's been open for almost 7. And like he's president of over both of them, and we have a VP of operations over both of them.
Mhm.
But I contemplate over time, like, this might be easier to separate, you know, instead of like the same people being over everything. I don't know.
Yes and no. I mean, the continuity is important. I have learned that. Like, there's key people that need to know all be all, right? Like
Now we like our
my
HR,
accountant.
our admin team, billing, like all of
Yes.
that's all the same. Like we have the
Yeah,
same people. So
finance
like,
and HR, I think, are important to have kind of over everything.
yeah,
And then you have like general managers for each entity, right? Like, so
yeah,
Tyler is technically the general manager of Metal Solutions, and I'm the general manager of Bulldog because, I mean, and it's funny when my accountant that works for me, her name is Tegan. She actually is my CPA, and she just had her second baby 3-4 months ago, and she's like, you know, I worked at a tax office when I met my husband, and so it is insane, the deadlines.
yeah,
And she did a lot of, I mean, she did, I think she had 400 and something clients, and then she also worked for a corporate agency out of Lubbock, Texas, and it was nightmare for her. I mean, she would not sleep, and the deadlines are atrocious. The clientele is very demanding.
yeah,
As a business owner myself, when I want to talk to my accountant, I want to talk to them and immediately. And so it really kind of worked out to where she was looking to kind of get out of the corporate world, and I wanted someone at the highest level. We're actually going to make her kind of our house manager. So we're going to move her to B4, to where right now she's employed by Metal Solutions, but we'll move her to B4. And anytime we want to purchase a property or any of those things, like, she's already like setting things up for us. And when you get someone that amazing, it's like you can't let them go. So we have to make sure she's
yes.
highly incentivized, and she is ride or die for us. She loves
Oh,
our family. I recently ran for state representative, and she's like on it. She was like my number one supporter.
oh,
She
I
would like
love that.
sometimes like want to go with me. She's like, I'm gonna follow you everywhere. I'm like, okay, I love it. The governor came.
I love
She
that.
like left work. She's like, I just want you to know you don't have to pay me for today, but I'm coming to support you. And so the governor came and did a rally for me, and she came, her husband came, they brought their babies. I mean, it was just really
Oh,
she's a rock star. And so just to say that you have to have the few key people that can manage your life and all the businesses that you run, and then you
yeah.
can put next level people in that kind of stay in this silo, and then just report back and forth. And so it's really funny because we always say Taken's our boss, and people don't believe it, but really she is.
Really, she's like, you should do this, not this. That's a good idea. That's not. That's the role
Yeah.
that we're hiring for next is like a either fractional CFO. I have a friend that runs businesses in the town next to me, and some of them are in the same industry. And we're talking about maybe sharing a CPA.
Hmm.
So because I've like had a book, like we do our bookkeeping, I've had somebody that does like my month end books, and then her boss did my tax return. Well, now she's switched positions. And so now I have no accountant to do my tax return, and
Oh
it's
man.
what, March. And so that's like a big transition area right now, but it's like
Yeah.
a crux, right? If you don't have it figured out, you're like, oh my gosh. So like that's Q2. Brooke's hiring and a
Yeah.
new accountant. That's where we're at. That's fun. So okay, so you talked about a couple of like hiccups you've had along the way. So you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier you guys almost went bankrupt, you almost lost the house. And so talk about those early years when there's just never enough money to go around in the beginning.
I don't know that I can really talk about it, except for, I mean, because you live it, you feel it. You rob Peter to pay Paul, and I know these things now, right? I've been in business almost 15 years with Metal Solutions, and I don't know how many years for Bulldog, but I think we started that one in 2017, so 5-6 years ish. Um, anyway, I remember the first check that I got, well, that was $10,000. I remember the first check that I deposited that was $1 million. I remember the first time I got to audit for my insurance, which you get those every single year, by the way.
Oh, yeah, and then you have
Um,
to write another check because your workman's comp wasn't enough, and, oh, by the way,
that's
we're
exactly it.
gonna
Because
back
you,
bill you.
yes, yes.
What?
And so, yeah, and you pay, I don't know, 17,000, 27,000, whatever, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then, I remember, and it's so funny because the minute you feel that pain, the minute you feel that pain, you
Mm.
fix it, right?
Yeah.
You learn, I mean, maybe you don't, but I did. The first time that I had to pay a big tax bill, called the college and I signed up for some accounting classes. Because you do your own bookkeeping for a long time when you're a solopreneur. I mean,
Yes.
I did my own bank recs usually in November for the whole year
There you
because I'm
go.
busy doing normal business things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to try to remember what this check was because you didn't put a memo on it and what this went to. And I mean, it was a nightmare and I'm so glad I'm out of that space. But you live through these really hard times because you don't know what you don't know. Period.
Mhm.
Um,
You don't.
and so to kind of combat that, I mean, I don't know that I mean, I can tell you lessons. We would be here all day, but kind of to combat that, I kind of started this thing and it's kind of still in its infancy. I'm trying to build it up. That's one of the things that I plan on working on this year is kind of my personal brand and Steel School. Um, in Texas, you really
Mm.
don't have to have a license or anything, which I am all for capitalism. I am all for limited government, and I don't think we need a lot of rules. But the issues with that is, um, you can lose your job tomorrow and decide you're going to start a construction company, and you don't know anything.
Mhm.
You don't know what insurances to buy. You don't know what things protect you. You don't know how to get a job. You don't know how to quote things. You don't know if the purling goes this way or this way. I mean, like these. I'm serious. I am so serious. Some of the things we show up to, you're like, how long have they been doing this?
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's
'Cause there's no, like, inspections, there's no, like, audit on the work, there's
well, there
no.
are inspections, but even the inspectors, you can't expect them to know everything about everything. I mean,
Right.
so I have an issue with that a little bit too, right? You have inspectors that aren't electricians, and you have master electricians that are having to go to these people and get them to sign off on something that they know nothing about.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like
Mhm.
a little bit of a wishy-washy thing. And so for me, it's crucial. We talk about it every day in our businesses. We are literally building our communities and we've got to build them to last. And I'm not the only builder, right? So I want to make sure that the other people building my community center that I'm going to walk into, building this car dealership that I'm going to spend 2 hours in when I buy a new car. I mean, these buildings that I'm going to be sitting in, that's stuff that people don't ever think about, right? Like you just
Nobody
assume when you
does.
walk into
I'm
something,
just
it's
like, "Huh,
safe,
never really thought
secure,
about it."
stable. Right, right. Well, I always think about that.
No, that's your
And so,
space.
yeah, that's right. And so, I'm like, gosh, how do you hear the rattle or you walking somewhere and you feel the bounce in the floor and you're like, this could have used a few more, supports or whatever, right? And so it's my personal goal. I have two goals. One, to get people financially wise, of starting at a young age. And I have a friend that's helping me do that. Her name is Laura. Her name is Laura Dawson is her name. And the next thing that I want to do is no, it's Lindsay Dawson, not Laura Dawson. Lindsay Dawson.
You
Sorry
knew
about
that didn't sound right.
I'm like, why did I just say
I said,
Laura?
"Say
Yeah,
that, yeah."
Lindsay Dawson is her name. And then the second thing is make sure that other people building buildings are doing good quality work.
Mm,
And so that's
that's
kind of
good.
what Bulldog is starting to do. Obviously, I'm still selling products, but I think it really sets me up to be the trusted name in steel, by both my consumers, the other businesses, and their customers, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's something that we're starting to build out early on. I actually I think I'm going to switch gears and start working with a brand building company. Um,
Okay.
I know I'm excited about that, and
Yeah. Like for
I
your
don't even
personal brand or for Still School or for both?
kind of both. They kind of go synchronous in that
What's a
aspect.
brand building company?
Well, exactly that. So
I know, like, but like, it's
his
not
name
Mark.
is Rory Vaden, and her name is AJ Vaden. And they have a business called Brand Builder. So I'm sure you've heard of Donald Miller. You've heard
Yeah.
of, um, what's his name? Gary Vanderchuk. I mean, all of these people, right? There's one that I'm thinking of, Alex Hermosi. Like they have helped them kind of get where they
Ahead.
are, right? Like
Yeah.
they kind of you meet with them, they're your coach, they're your advocate, they're your mentor. And you meet with them and you kind of develop a plan, like what is it that you want people to know about you. And then they just make you kind of laser focus on that, because there's a wall until you get credibility, right? Until you are Michael Phelps, right? You can't talk
Yes.
about anything. You can only talk about this one thing. And so it's kind of helping you break the wall to where you can kind of open up and talk about other things. And so my brand is going to be me. My topic is going to be Steel School. And then we'll kind of move into
I love it.
all the other spaces, right, that I care about.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I think I started the podcast as like a way to figure out what my laser focus was, and like
Hmm.
when I do solo episodes, like I try out different topics to
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't really like talking about that. Like I learned that I don't love talking about business. I don't love
Oh,
it.
see,
I
and I'm
can,
obsessed with talking about business.
like, I
Business
can,
and like helping people, right?
like, I love talking about business, like sitting down one on one at dinner and like talking business, love it. But
Uh-huh.
like to speak from a platform to talk about business, like I can do it. I got a lot of
Oh,
knowledge. I can tell
yeah.
you all the things, but like I don't leave with like, yeah, baby. But if I sit here and talk to you about telling your truth and sharing the
Mhm.
hard shit you've been through in life and how you
Yeah.
came out of that and like
Yeah.
how anybody can actually do that and nothing, absolutely nothing, not the family you were born into, not the circumstance you had yesterday, not the amount of money in your bank
Mhm.
account can change your dent on the world. Like that's up to you. That's what I get excited about.
Yeah, I can
And so,
tell.
yeah, I know. Like, and so, but it was like, okay, I'm going to start the podcast. What's it about? I don't know. Let's go. Grit Crusade. I have the resources to do this. I can hire a production company. We'll make a good quality product. And I'll just keep talking until I get to where like I feel good about something. And
Yeah,
then we'll go from there. And so, but it's hard because when you know and love a lot of things, you want to talk about all the things. And so it is hard to like laser in
absolutely.
and like laser focus on that for sure. Okay. All right. We're going to take a break and I'm going to do trivia in the trenches. Woo! Woo! You're a
All
little
right.
nervous, but you are not going to know the question. I think you might know the answer. And then we're going to jump into talking a little bit about your political ambitions and kind of how the campaign went. Because I was like a Stormy supporter from Arkansas. I couldn't vote, but I was doing my supporting from here. And then also kind of like what life looks like for you right now, because I know it looks totally different than it did 10 years ago.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're homeschooling the kids and all the things. All right, here we go. Trivia in the trenches. What do you call a community of ants?
The colony.
Yes, you got it. Yay! You got it. Yes. Yes. Okay, here's why
I
I
don't
asked you
know
that
how I knew
question.
that.
Yeah,
It just
you,
made
like
sense, right?
it just went through it. Yeah. Okay, here's why I asked you the question. Because and I mean, this is like probably true in some other areas of the animal kingdom, but like and I know they're not technically like animals because they're insects, but did you know that every ant has a specific job?
I did know that. So I
It
homeschool my kids, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
And my youngest is actually going through, the plant and animal kingdoms, and like
Okay.
how, like you got vertebrates and invertebrates and all the things.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, yeah.
I've been learning a lot about
I
ants and
love it.
bees and
Butterflies and all the
not
things.
butterflies, just
My
ants and
son's on
bees,
butterflies.
dolphins, because they're kind of abnormal, frogs, because they're kind of abnormal. And so, yeah, that's how I thank you for letting me homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mia Academy, right?
There you go. Well, the reason when I was researching for trivia, I was like, this is perfect because I feel like one of the earliest struggles I ever had of hiring staff was like, I just needed help and then I'd hire people and they'd be like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I don't
Mm.
know. Here's all the stuff on the list. And it was like, if
Oh,
we could just be
the same
as
way. I
as
was the same
ants,
way.
like every ant knows their job. And so like as you grow in business, and like now you have several businesses just like I do. And like it's so important. Like when I hire someone now and like write a position description and like an employment offer, like it's
Mhm.
so friggin' specific. Like I come back to it at like their 6-month review and I'm like, well, let's look at the list and see how we're doing. Like, is there
Mhm.
anything that we're leaving off? Like, because there's nobody else in the company doing that job. And like, if everybody could be like that in life, like, in all business, if
Oh,
somebody had told you that,
I
like,
have to
could you
tell
just
you
build?
this story.
Oh, go for it. I'm ready.
I am not a micromanager. I am not a micromanager.
Same.
However, there was a time in the moment, I would say in the first few months, right? I told you Metal Solutions, me and Tyler ran it with a part-time person. I had a journal and I did it for myself. So if Tyler's like, hey, did we email this invoice or did we do this? I could, instead of like opening the computer, logging in, all the things, I could be like, yeah, I emailed it at 10 o'clock that day.
Oh, you
You
would
see
like
where I'm
write it
going?
down, the time and
Yeah, you
everything.
see where I'm going with
Okay.
this. So I have
Yes.
this girl that's working for me, and she ended up leaving for that reason, and I fully see it now. I fully see it now. But it's kind of one of those things where this is what I did for convenience. And I wanted her to do the same thing. When you send an invoice, when you send an estimate, when you create one, you write it down. If you call somebody, you write it down. Because at the time, I was so old school. I didn't have another option, right?
Right.
And in that new business ownership thing, you're going 100 miles an hour. You're wearing
Yes.
every single hat. You can't remember if you ate that day. You can't remember
I know.
when the last time you went to the restroom. You don't
Yes. You're
remember
like,
if
I've
you
been
shut
holding
your
my
computer
pee
down
for
or turned
3
the stove on.
hours.
Yeah, I mean, like
Yes.
you literally don't remember because you're just going, fighting a million fires a day, right? And so, yeah, I had her fill out the same thing as me, and she thought I was micromanaging her, and I'm like,
No, I'm
"You're
not. That's the way you're supposed to do
ridiculous."
it.
Like, yeah, I'm like, "That's not micromanaging." She's like, "Why do you have to know every single thing I do?" I'm like, I would explain it to her. I'm like, look, I take this home at night. And then when me and my husband can't sleep at 11 o'clock at night and he's asking me all these questions and I'm tired and I can't remember what I did and didn't do, I can pull out the list and say, yes, I did it. Right. And I mean, it was a really battle for a long
Yeah.
time. And there were days where she didn't fill it out and then Tal would ask me questions and I don't like to look like a fool, right? So I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know. So like you sleep with your laptop on your nightstand. So if he asks, I mean, I am telling you, that's what I said earlier. Like we could talk all day about the stories and it's
Oh,
because there's
wow.
a million of them. There's a million of them working a full-time job at
Yeah.
the ER and then coming home and doing
Yep.
invoicing billing. I remember the day that I had my oldest son get home from the hospital and it was payroll day. There were people at home. I'm like, y'all are here to see my baby. And they're like, no, we had a water leak. So I had no water the day I get home from the
Oh,
hospital, had no
gosh.
water. And I had 12 people, subcontractors, concrete, electrician, those kind of things, waiting at my door. Number one, to see my kid, but number two, they wanted their paychecks. So
And so there you are, fresh postpartum, writing out paychecks.
yes. I mean, it's literally less than 24 hours before after having my
Girl,
child. And
I
so
left
it's crazy.
yeah, it is. It's the lifestyle. I left the NICU with my son still in the NICU to go deal with a team and parent concern. And I'm like thinking now, there is no way in hell I would do that. Like I remember that mom calling me and going, "Look, I know your son's in the ICU, but if you said that to me today to this Brooke,
Hang up.
nah, we'd be done. We're done."
Yeah.
But like then it's just like survival. Like you're trying to
Mhm.
not lose customers. You're trying to make everybody happy. You're trying to like
That's
do
right.
all the things. And I think too to myself, like, employees that have left along the way, right? Whether you help them find a greener pasture or whether they found their own. Like,
Mhm.
I kind of wish they could have worked for this version of me
Oh, yeah.
because like this version of me is such a stronger leader.
Well, I can guarantee you those people still oh, my stomach's growling. Hope we can't hear that. I guarantee those people are still following you. They either resent you now or they are admiring you from a distance.
Yeah, one of the
And I
two.
see both. I mean, I'm from a small town and I still see some of those people. Um, some of them I talk to still. Like I'm like, "Hey, I know it didn't work out with us, but I you are doing well. I'm sorry for the version of
Right.
me that you
Yeah.
had." And there you can kind of rehash that. I always tell people 26-year-old me and almost 35-year-old me are not the same. We are not the same, and thank goodness for aging and maturity. My husband's he's saying 20 twice. He's turning 20 twice this year. He's turning 40 and he's having a hard time with it. But I am like, I can't wait to be 40. I mean,
See, I'm turning
you'll
40,
have
so
to
we're
pull this clip up when I
right.
get there.
Oh, I
But
know.
I'm like, I love the wisdom. I love
Mm.
getting to look back and reflect on, wow, I never thought I could be here. I never thought this was a possibility or an option or you it's not even something that you think about because you're number one, you're in survival mode. Number two, you don't know what you don't know. And so you're just trying to get through it. I remember, I think I'll transition us for you, right? To when I look back, what am I most proud of? I don't know that I have that answer necessarily, but when I look back and I remember the day when we got our first $10,000 check and all the bills were paid and it was like we got to keep that money in the bank, you know? And I'm like,
Yay.
and then you pay your taxes and you still have like 9,500 of it. It wasn't
And you were
like that,
like,
but you still have
"Ah,
money, right?
yes.
Like you do all the
Yes."
things and you still have money. And I remember that day and I remember thinking, okay, next year our goal is going to be 50,000.
Love
Right now, my
yes.
business takes at least $500,000 a month to run it.
Oh,
I was
wow.
ambitious with that $50,000.
God, isn't that
I
great
mean,
though?
it is crazy. It is so crazy
It is
how you
so
go from
great.
this to this, you know? And,
Yes. I know I tell people, I'm like, I had a $700,000 payroll last year. And people
yeah,
are like, we are 99% service business.
yeah,
And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I'm so proud of that." Like, that's $700,000 worth of, like, food and diapers and
that's
homes
right.
and vehicles, and, like,
That's
we
right.
are providing for these families in our communities, and they get to work somewhere they like, doing something they like to do,
Mhm.
And, like, working in
That's
steel is
right.
not for everybody, working in childcare and teaching gymnastics classes is not for everybody, but some people love that. And to get
Mhm.
to do it with people that are cool and somewhere that treats you good and gives you all the benefits and all the perks and all the things that they possibly can, like it's fun. It's like I never
Mhm.
look at like payroll as oh now taxes, insurance, you ain't never gonna get me not sigh over those. But
That's
like
right.
payroll, it's cool. It's really cool to be able to
Mhm.
like give that back to the people though.
Yeah, that's right. I always get happy, like, at the end of the year, I sub out my plumbing and I sub out my electrical. Those are trades. I love the trades. I think we don't dedicate enough time and
Yes.
resources to building up the trades because there's something that's never going to go away. A robot's not going to come and fix your ceiling fan, right?
Nope.
Like these things, these people have to stick around, right? Nobody's going to unclog your pipes after you, who knows what happened, right? It's a person. It's a good quality, genuinely compassionate, hardworking person, right?
Mhm.
There's not a person in the trades that I don't think cares. They care at like your dad, right? Like how your
They
dad is
really
like,
do.
well, that's dirty, nasty work that nobody appreciates. And your dad is the dad that may not say I love you and give you a kiss and get on the road. He's going to say, he's going to go outside and check the air on your tires. He's going to take and fill your car up with gas. He's going to check the oil. I mean, these are the things that your dad does that you don't know about
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
selfless, but like mean the most, right?
They
And from a
do.
woman's perspective, like I used to hate doing laundry. I used to hate like cleaning up after my family. Now, like those are my favorite activities. Like doing their laundry, I'm like, thank you for letting me have this family, God. And
Yes.
thank you for letting me provide for their needs, because I feel like meeting people's needs is more important than just saying it, right? Maybe that's my love language.
I love that.
But
Acts of service. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. But I feel the same way about the trades. Like, these people keep your life, your home, your city running, and they not that they ask for it, but they don't get nearly the praise and adoration that they should be getting. And so I love the trades, but my favorite thing about the end of the year is to see how much money I paid my plumber. Right. Because
Oh,
everybody's like, doctors make all this money and you need to go and be a doctor. And I go and speak sometimes at schools and things like that. I'm like, you know how much money I paid my plumber last year? $465,000.
woo, get
You know,
it.
and I can say those numbers and they're like, what? That's like more than our house, or whatever,
Like,
right? I mean, kids
yes,
don't think in
yes.
the same way that they think.
No,
And I'm
kids
like,
always ask me, they're like, I went to the Boys and Girls Club, like, how much money do you make? And I'm like, well, when you own a lot of businesses, like, it's a
it's
lot of
not the same. Yeah.
numbers. And
There's a
so,
lot of math.
there's a lot of math, there's a lot of numbers, but I make over $100,000 a year. Like, I say that. That's what I say to them. So that way, like, they can, and they're like, oh, both of my parents don't make that. And I'm like, I know.
They probably don't want
However,
you saying that, but
yeah, however, right? But like I was like you, I was a school teacher. So like
yeah.
I was a public school teacher and I would get off at 3:30 or 3:45 every day after bus duty and I would run to the gym and I would vacuum the mats and I would clean the mirrors and I would take out the trash and I couldn't start a 4 o'clock class like most people wanted because I couldn't get all that done before 4:30. And then I would coach on the mat all night until 9:30 at night. And then I'd go and do it all over again.
Mhm.
But like that hustle mentality in that time period is what made this you
That's right.
know? And then I see kids that, come out of school these days, bless these 20-year-old little souls,
Hey, we
that
were
they
them once. We were
we
them once.
were
Although
we
I
were
don't
the
think that I was. I don't
I
think
don't
that I was.
either, and I'm sure our parents said they weren't either, and our grandparents also said that, but, like, sweetheart, you are not gonna make $100,000 a year posted on TikTok. Like, maybe 1% or less of all the people posted on TikTok can
Mhm.
do that. But,
That's
like,
right.
that's you don't just get to show up and make all the money. Like, there has to be value
Yeah, they
provided. There has
want
to
the
be a
rewards
skill.
without the effort.
I know. I'm like,
Yes.
you actually have to have a skill, like a skill that's benefiting all the stakeholders. The plumber, he's got the skill. You guys don't want to hire a full-time plumber, obviously, or you would have already done it. You love him. He knows he's got to do his stuff right to keep your contract.
That's right.
Yay, go plumber. And
That's right.
I also overpay my plumber.
Well, you
I
have
could
to
say
be
over
licensed, and it
yeah, you do. Yeah. I
yeah.
overpay my plumber, I say, because I know he's by far the most expensive around. And I think that he is worth every single penny we pay him because I never have to worry. Look at it. It's never going to break again. I'm going to be dead before it breaks again. It's
That's
like
right.
it's perfect. Like every single time he is. So, okay.
Yeah.
So you ran for office. How many
I
times have you
did.
run for office?
2.
2 times. How many times have you won?
Neither.
I know.
Well,
So
that's a lie. Okay, so I serve on my school board, and I've ran for that
oh,
seat
so
a few
three
times.
different types of office, and you continue to get the school board,
But I'm not
but
gonna
you.
rerun for school board because I believe in term limits. So
Oh yes,
this is
true,
my
right? I've
yeah.
been on our chamber board for it's a 6-year term limit, so 2 3-year terms. I've
Mhm.
been on our chamber board in December will be 9.5 years, and I need to go. Like I love it, but like they need somebody else's voice in there,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so like
that is important, and not that you can't add value and not that you can't still go and participate,
yeah,
but you're
absolutely.
exactly right. Like, other people need to shoot their shot, and,
100%.
you
Yeah.
know,
So
so
you've ran for Senate and state representative.
mhm.
And I think you should have won in both of those. I don't even know if I knew you when you ran for Senate, but I still feel that, right?
Honestly, I was naive in my state Senate run. Here's the thing, and I wanna talk about that. You talk about grit, right? Like, this is the
Yeah.
grit crusade,
Yes.
and getting in the trenches is like what, right? That's what grit
Yes.
stands
Yeah, you
for
got
you?
it, girl. Yeah.
So I got to spend several days with the owner of Hobby Lobby. I do wanna talk about politics. I will talk about that, but I wanna tell you
Yes.
this really quickly because this is
Yes.
important to me. Grit is something that you just can't teach. You just can't teach people. You kinda have to have hardships
Mm.
to get grit, and it's not fun. I mean, people that have grit will tell, I mean, when you hear their stories, you and I have known each other for several years, and I think we kind of know each other's stories a little bit. When you know someone's story, you know why they're tenacious. You know why they have grit, right? And
Yeah.
so, anyway, I got to spend a few days with the owner of Hobby Lobby. I'm going to pull this up really quickly. And we built a like legacy plan. So they believe, I believe as well, families are multi-generational. So I've been really working hard on setting up, I'm guessing the right terminology would be a dynasty trust or a legacy trust. And so that's kind of what they did with us. They kind of taught us that. But it's so funny because our Bradley values are grit, God, respect, integrity, and team. And
Mm.
it's crazy, right? And so, I mean, I feel like you and I've been connected for a while. And then
Yeah.
when I started listening to your podcast, I guess it was last year, the end of last year, maybe like October, November, when I kind of started really listening to your podcast. I'm like, you do have a lot of grit. You have a large story to be told. And I'm like, I want the same thing for my family. So I have this entire like legacy book, and we talk about grit, and we talk about, what it looks like. And I define it for our family. And, it's funny because we're in construction, and I have requirements. By the time you're 19, you have to be certified in a trade. I have a list of trades, an example list of trades, and you have to work in that trade for 2 years before you can be part of our family business, right? And
That's
so,
good.
oh yeah, I'll have to send that to you. It's not
You
completed because
It
I'm
doesn't
putting
matter.
my.
I like a draft. I like a draft. A
That's
good
right.
draft
That's
is
it.
good.
It's a
We
draft.
just did a family trust for our son, which he's 6, right? And of course, our
Hmm.
lawyers, like our attorneys, like you can change it as much as you want, like all the things,
Yeah.
and so we have he has to have a bachelor's and master's degree by 25 if like we were both to pass away and for him to inherit the trust. And or by 30 he has to
That's
have a
a tough
bachelor's degree,
deadline.
and then or by 30 he has to have a bachelor's degree. And I know
Okay.
this kid, and right here, like
Uh-huh.
totally, like me sitting
Yeah.
him telling him to go to college is like go prove that you can work and stick with something, right? And so,
Yeah.
but that's if like we were both dead, right? Like so, if we were
Yeah.
both dead and you to inherit all the things, this is what you got to show. You can't just show up at 30 and think you're getting it. Like you're
I'm
not getting
getting
it
it.
unless you've proved some work ethic. Okay.
Yeah.
But I like where you're going with like the family dynasty legacy, like what like part of like not just if we're dead, like what if we're still alive?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then what?
So by the
I
time you're
like that.
17, you have to read the book Atlas Shrugged, and give me a 2-page report on it. The book is, it's probably 3.5, 4 inches thick. I mean, it's a
Okay. I've
big
never
one.
read this book.
Oh, well, I feel
Here,
like it's
I'm
it's
going to have to send you,
philosophical.
I'm going to have to send you a
Really good.
book report on it now. I feel like I'm going to
Okay.
have to.
Okay. Um, let me look at it real quick. I have several rules.
And so you
What
learned about this the day you were with the Hobby Lobby peeps.
Yes. Yeah. We spent several days with them. I don't know if it
Okay.
was 3, 4, 5, something like that. So we have giving principles, things we'll give to, things we won't give to, why giving is important, why we are stewards of our business, not owners of our business. So some of my requirements, every board member has equal voice. Just because Tyler and I are the starters of this doesn't mean we get extra votes. You're a voting member once you're 8 years old. Um, Property or profitability is still a priority. Yeah, the trade skill, and I have a sample list. You have to serve on a community board at each, like one member of each Bradley family. So my son or his wife have to serve on a board of their choice for at least 2 terms. It can be elected or appointed because it's important to be involved in your community and have a pulse on the
Mm-hmm.
community's needs. We do not sell property unless we have no other option available. There's an eminent domain case, whatever, or we have a majority vote to sell for a strategic purpose. Everyone has to take a trip, or I call them an adventure every year. That's what I really want to talk about. That's what I'm passionate about. Is they have to take a trip a year, that really busts you out of your comfort zone. Because as you and I both know, when you're in business, the hits hurt, right? And so eventually you
Yeah.
stop taking risks. And so you have to, I kind of have a requirement in there that you have to do something um, to break that comfort zone open, so that way you're more free to take risks, right? If you do
Mm,
something risky, you're like, oh well, this is nothing, this is
yeah.
100 grand, I'm going to invest this because I lived through this, right? Like, I'm not trying to have them go on
Yeah.
extreme things, but I had a fear of heights. I went skydiving. um
You
yeah.
did?
Oh yeah.
I'm
From
so proud of
16,000
you.
feet in Tennessee.
I'm
Mhm.
so proud of you.
Oh, it
That's a
was an
big
adventure.
deal. That's a
And I would do
big
it again
deal.
now. I loved it. I loved it. I got it all on video. I'll have to send it to you.
Oh my
Um,
God. I love that. I'm
I feel like our
obsessed with this
time.
like legacy dynasty planning. This
Oh,
is good.
I will send you my book.
You will have to send this to me. I love
I
that.
that may be a workshop that I kinda get to, right? Like,
Well, you
once I get
seem
mine
really
done,
passionate about it.
I am really passionate about it
Okay,
because I
so you're
think,
passionate about these. Oh, go ahead.
well, as a business owner, you're working so hard for your freedom. Like, why do you get into business, right? For freedom, but that you don't get. Like, you don't allow yourself to get it because you're betting on yourself, and you've got to give 200%, not even 110. You've got to give 200% because it's
Right.
your business. It's sink or swim, and you give it your all, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have children, and they're going to have children one day, and they're going to have children one day, and they're going to have children one day, right? And so you think about these things, and you're like, what are the mistakes that I made that I don't want them making? How
Mm.
can I, because they say there's like in every culture, there's things from like rags to riches back to rags. I work hard and bust my booty. Well, I grew up with nothing. I work hard and make something of myself. My kids were entitled and they didn't have to work for anything. So
Yeah. Yeah.
then so they blow all the money, and then their kids are right back where my parents were, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's this cycle, right? I was talking a little bit maybe about the contractor cycle, that you rob Peter to pay Paul, just and you don't ever think you're worthy of making enough money to get out of the cycle. And then you look up and you're like, oh, I can charge an extra 25 cents a square foot, and then I can start stacking that money back, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get to this other point. It's the same thing with your family. You got to have criteria in place. Atlas Shrugged is one of those books that just get you thinking, get you a lot. This may make people mad, but obviously, I mean, you have to have a church home. You have to be very involved in your church. That's one of our requirements too. But what Atlas Shrugged does is it just gets you thinking that nobody is on your team. You've got to be on your own team, right?
Mm.
You can rely on God and your spouse, and that's really it. Like, you've got to
Yeah.
make your own way, and you've got to be a responsible person. And so, in doing that, and as long as we can educate and teach these next generations, we are setting our family up for success. But
Yeah.
we also, they're going to get rewarded, right? Financially, and asset wise, they're going to get rewarded for their, their due diligence, their productivity in society, their responsibleness, their integrity, you know? And
But
so those are things.
we want to raise like good humans though that can be good stewards of that.
That's right.
And
And
it
so
doesn't
that's
start when they're
what
25.
this is for me, is
Yeah, I love
it
that.
doesn't start when they're 25. It starts when they're
Mm-mm.
5.
Yeah,
It
it
starts when
does.
they're
It
5.
really does. It really does. I know I asked my son this week. So we do, my husband works nights. So he's at the gym still like doing operations and stuff. So a couple nights a week, he's still there late. So it'll just be me and crew for dinner. And so we're usually sitting at the table playing some sort of board game. And I ask him questions like, and this week I asked him, I said, so what, if you could make a movie, what would it be about? And he said, kindness and peace. And I was like, I'm doing something as a mom. I'm doing
That's
something. Like I
good.
was waiting for like the whole video game because he has some video games he likes and he has,
Uh-huh.
he's playing soccer now and like doing, so I was ready for like something like that. No, kindness and peace. I was like, hey, we're doing something
Good
around
job,
here.
crew. Good
I
job,
know,
crew.
right? Like, yes, yes. Okay. So how old are your boys? So the listeners know.
10 and 8.
Yeah, that's what I
And my
thought too.
8-year-old will be 9 in May. So
And I'm
they're
turning
18
40
months
this
apart.
I'm turning whew, that was a
Yeah, that was
lot.
hard. I'm
That was
telling
a
you, businesses, nursing, all of these things, and then an infant and a toddler.
yeah,
Um, Life
and you
was
made
really
it.
hard.
You made
Well,
it.
that's why I got into Business Accelerator. I mean, that's how you and I met. Was
Yes.
I was beyond overwhelmed. We
Mhm.
were just starting Bulldog. I had, you know, kids, husbands, life, businesses,
Yeah.
people to manage now. I
Yes.
mean, it was a whole
Yes.
different thing.
Whole different
Anyway,
thing.
I can switch us back to politics. I'm sure our time might be running out. This
Oh,
might have
girl,
to
we're
be 2
good.
podcasts.
That's okay. That's all right. All right. Yeah, I do wanna hear about tell me about these why do you wanna be a politician? Let's start there because I,
I
like, pray
don't.
to God. Like, I have this one prayer. This is the only don't prayer to God I have. God, please don't ever call me into politics. Like, it's a real prayer. Like, I'm not
Mm,
being funny. It's like a real
no.
desire of my heart because the drama,
Mhm.
like that's what I can't like. Oh, I feel like my soul would be at unrest forever. Yes.
It kinda is like that. It kinda is
Yeah.
like that. If you want to be a politician, you should not be a politician. If you don't wanna be a politician, you absolutely should because you're doing it
Oh,
for the right reasons, you know?
jeez.
And so I absolutely I think there's a whole lot of disservice to us, and we passively elect these people and let these things happen. And so,
Hate that.
you get mad enough one day that you're like,
I'm gonna do something about
who
it.
who's going to do something? And
Yeah.
nobody else raises their hand. And I am always the one, right? Like, me, go ahead.
I'll
I
do it.
have
Yeah.
lived through the unthinkable. Um, and I have done so much in my 34 years, right? Like when I say I'm not one of those kids, I started our business when I was 19 years old. I am not one of
Jeez.
those kids. I have been an adult since I was probably 6. I've been very
Mm.
responsible since I was 6 for reasons I'm not going to discuss today. But I just have been forced into that
Yeah.
my whole life, and I'm not easily pushed over, and I don't sit by when wrong things are being done.
I
Um,
love that about you.
and so that's really what drew me to politics is you see a problem, you see another problem, you see another problem, and then you can't quit looking, right? You can look and look
Can't.
away, but you can not see and unsee. When you see something, then you're in it. And so every time I get done with a race, which is only 2 times, right? For the state senate race, I absolutely shouldn't have won that one. I was not prepared. I didn't know what I was doing, but kind of when I led us away, talked about the grit thing, you can't tell me no. I'm going to figure it out. And I dang sure did. I ran a completely grassroots campaign and ended up with 38% of the vote.
That was
My district
awesome.
for state senate was 46 counties. That's the largest landmass in the nation for this thing that I knew nothing about. I mean, I like politics. Like I've kind of been involved in it. I skipped school one day to go see George Bush in New Mexico.
Who wouldn't? That's cool.
That's right. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
wild, which I don't know that I'm the biggest George Bush fan today necessarily, but like these things were like ingrained in me. I did debate
Mhm.
in high school. I just was passionate about it, right? And so I kind of still have always been that. And then when I got on school board and I'm realizing like, wow, we don't get to do this. Oh, we don't get to do that. And in my business, if I see a problem, I pivot
We fix
immediately
it.
and fix it. And
Yes.
it is simply not like that in any level of government, right? City government, school board is the smallest form of government, in case you didn't know that, or maybe
Yeah.
HOAs. HOAs might be the smallest form of
Right, yeah.
government. How real they are, I don't know. I don't want to make anybody mad, but so it's like HOAs, committees and things like that, then school board, then city government, county government, state
Mhm.
government, federal government. And so when I was in the school board and I'm like, how can I make changes? Everybody's like, run for something small right now, like be county judge or
Like the
be mayor.
state senate. the state
Yeah,
senate.
I go for like the thing,
There's
right?
2 in the
I'm
whole state of Texas, and Stormy's like, "I'll go for that one."
like, yeah, state senate's going to be it. That's the one that makes the rules that I want to influence, and that's the one I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the naiveness of how I ran that campaign honestly served me well. I did get a lot of name recognition, which helped me in this race. And this race was a really hard loss. That race wasn't a hard loss
Well, this one was
because I
closer, much closer.
yeah, I think I got 47 or 48%, and he got,
Oh,
the rest. We knew this race was going to be close, but we thought it would be a little more in my favor, right? It was a dirty, nasty race. There were a lot of lies and fakeness, and I had the support of Ted Cruz, Ken Paxton. Ted Cruz is my senator. Ken Paxton is our attorney general. Most people know who that is. I had the support of our lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, our governor, Greg Abbott, and Donald Trump. I was endorsed by all of them. And just know it's really hard to unseat somebody that's been there for 2 decades. And
yeah.
I'm proud of the race that I ran. I actually I'm ready to keep fighting. Like I'm not done. I have a couple of friends that ran with me
Yeah.
that won their primary, but they have a Democratic opponent in the
Yeah.
in the general election. And so I'm
Uh-huh.
like, hey, I would love to help you with your campaign. I still
Yeah.
am active on my school board. We have a school board election. There's one person that I'm like, I think we need to change. And so I'm like advocating for these other people
Mhm.
that are running for school board. And so it's just fun. Now, I don't really know how else to explain it except for when you're in it, you're 100% committed. But if you do not want to be in it, you just don't look, because when you do,
It's over.
it is you have no other option but to get involved, because you see the problems. And as a business owner, I am very practical in my solutions on fixing things. Like, we don't need more red tape. We don't need this. We don't need that. Like, we need to let the city government and the county government do what they're supposed to be doing, instead of just big brother's going to come in and save you. And it's a problem. And so
I love that. Will you run again?
undecided. I since I was probably 13, I've had it. I read To Kill a Mockingbird, and we made a little album, a dream book, I think is what our teacher had us call it, a dream album or a dream book. And in that, I think I was 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there, I was in high school, a freshman in high school. So however old you are when that.
14, yeah,
I was in
probably.
AP English, and we made that. And I had a thing in there that said, one day I'm going to be the governor of Texas. And so maybe it's still out there. We will see. But only time will tell, right? The thing about
Yes.
politics is they're 4-year, 6-year, or 2-year, terms. So I at least have a little bit of time before I choose.
I love that. I love that. Is there anything else you want me to ask you about today that we didn't get to?
I don't think so. I feel like we covered
We
everything.
did. We did. And I
Everything.
learned something. So I took some notes. I'm like, okay, Atlas shrugged. Okay, we're stewards, not owners. 8-year-olds get votes. Hardships get you grit. Like, I'm taking notes on our on
Yeah,
just. I'm
that's
like, I
right.
love it. I love it. Okay, so is there anything you wanted to ask me about?
No.
No? Okay. So I asked the same question. Since you've listened to the podcast before, you probably already know. I have the same question to all my guests at the end of the interview. And it is this. What is the one thing that you have always wanted to do, but you haven't done yet?
This is random, but I want to see Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. I've not been in that part of the US either, like the Dakotas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good.
I just I got to go to Washington. Well, I get to go to Washington with my family in June, but I got to
Aw.
go the first time, I think 2 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and overwhelming. I mean, just so emotional. And maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm a nerd. Maybe nobody else feels that way, but it just was the ties and the foundation of like, this is where things started,
Yeah.
and it just really moves you. And
I
so
agree.
I think Mount Rushmore is going to be kind of the same
The
thing.
same way.
Yeah.
I was our Girls Nation delegate in my junior year of high school for Arkansas.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't even know that there was a thing called Girls Nation. And then, they start talking about Girls State at high school. And so I went to Girls State, and at Girls State, I got elected to Girls Nation. So I hop on a plane at 17 and off to DC I go, and I'm Arkansas. So I roomed with California and Colorado, and because you get like alphabetized roommates, and
Uh-huh.
we did everything you could imagine
Yeah.
in Washington, D.C. we did in the
Well,
week
the
we were
best thing
there.
is the Museum of the Bible.
Gosh.
And
Oh,
that
I
may
haven't
not
been
have
there.
when you were there.
No,
Oh, it's fairly new. The Museum of the Bible.
That
So the
was in
Green
like
family
2000.
actually owns that.
Oh, they do. That was like
Mhm.
2002 was when I was there. So it's been, 22 years, right? But like standing at the Lincoln Memorial
Yep.
and the Washington Monuments behind you,
Mhm.
girl,
I know. There's like nothing more
the
powerful.
grandeur is just,
Yeah.
it's just it's just, and this was before, so this was, I guess it was right after September 11th. So like we couldn't go on the floor of the,
Yeah.
of Congress, but we could be up in the balconies. And so we had some
Mhm.
like a few things, but it was, man, DC's amazing. DC's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, today's been so
I'm
fun.
very excited to get to take my kids.
Yeah. The
And
kids
it
are going to
has
love
been
it.
fun.
It has been fun. I love this. I knew I was like having Stormy on. It's just going to be like having coffee with my girlfriend. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Well, y'all enjoy your weekend at the lake house.
Mhm.
Thanks for
I hope you have a great
sharing
Easter.
with us about you. And until next time, thanks for listening to The Grit Crusade. I'm Brooke Plack. Join me again next week on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. This podcast is produced by ClintonCreative.com.